Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are great, fine, fantabulous. Today we are talking about hair porosity. I'm literally just gonna get straight into the video because apparently I talk too much. Today's hair is brought to you by Aunt Jackie's Flaxseed Don't Shrink Gel. Look at that definition right there. It was supposed to be a twist out, but it just didn't look nice out, so I thought let me just do a little updo. Let's get into it. There's three different types of porosity. Hair porosity is all about how well your hair retains moisture. You've got the levels of low, medium, which is basically normal, and you've also got high. Low porosity basically means that your cuticles on your hair are closed. It's very, very hard for the moisture to get into the cuticle of the hair because it's closed. When you put heavy creams, heavy butters, heavy oils onto your hair, the product normally just sits on the hair. You've got normal porosity, which is doing its thing. It's retaining the moisture, your cuticles open and close. High porosity basically means that your cuticles are open. Conditioners or oils, your hair will literally soak it all up and drink it all up.
I'm thirsty for you.
We're gonna focus on high porosity and low porosity because those are the two common ones that everybody always talks about, okay? How do you test your hair to see whether you have high porosity hair or low porosity hair? There are three methods. The most common one is the cup method. You take a strand of clean hair, you basically put it in a cup full of water. If it stays at the top, you've basically got low porosity hair. The cuticles are closed, it's not letting any of that water come in. If it's like in the middle, it means that it's normal. And then if it goes straight to the bottom, that means that it's got high porosity, which means that it's letting all the water in, all the moisture in. There's flaws to that system. Hair has natural oil, so even if you clean it, if you then put it on top of the water, that can basically tamper with it being high or low. And some people just find that it's inaccurate. So another method is the spray bottle. If you take like a section of hair and you spray water and then you see beads of water, sometimes they say that basically you've got low porosity because the water's not going in, it's just staying there. Personally, I don't think that's a good method. When you spray your hair with water, you can't just tell instantly whether it's gonna go in, whether it's gonna dry or not. However, that is actually a characteristic. Oh, this word characteristic is a characteristic, which I will also go into in a moment. The next other method, the last method, take a strand of hair and you go up and down with your hand, with your finger. If it's smooth and you're going up nicely, then they say that that's closed cuticles because you're not feeling the cuticles that are open. But if you're feeling ridges and bumps, then they say that that is high porosity hair. Let's go on to the characteristics. With low porosity, if you notice product normally sits on the hair, it just sits there and it's not being absorbed, then that's a sign. Another way that you can test the length of time that it takes to dry your hair. If when you wash your hair and then you want to go and dry it and it takes forever to dry, like you can't even air dry it, that's a sign that you have low porosity hair because the water's not being able to get into the cuticle. You're usually protein sensitive, things like rice water treatments, protein treatments, Afro G. The protein treatment is going to make your hair dry and brittle, lead to it breaking. If you were to do a protein treatment, I would recommend not doing it so often, maybe once every month or once every 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it can take a while to dye your hair or to lift the color because your hair is not absorbing the chemicals. Now let's talk about the characteristics of high porosity hair. You've done your wash day routine, it's time to dry your hair. You'll probably realize that your hair will dry quick. That's one way that you can kind of tell whether you have high porosity hair or not. Usually people who have high porosity hair, it's easy for them to air dry their hair because their hair will dry quick. I'm not too sure if I would solely base my whole thought process on whether I've got high porosity hair and low porosity hair on how quick my hair dries, but they do say that that is something to also take into consideration. Another characteristic is basically that your hair is dry and brittle, and sometimes it can be frizzy. Your hair's taking all that moisture so quick, it then gets dry, it then gets brittle, and then it ends up breaking. On the other hand, when you dye your hair and you bleach your hair, they say that it can be easier for your hair to take to the color, is being able to absorb that color, and also the bleach, so that can also damage your hair. So in terms of solutions, how do you manage, how do you moisturize, how do you get in touch with your high porosity hair or your low porosity hair? In terms of low porosity, prepping your hair before your wash days can help to open up the cuticles. So if you do a hot oil treatment, you want to use light oils. When you then wash your hair, you want to wash your hair with warm water to keep your cuticles open. So that way it's absorbing all that water, but also when you use a shampoo that's going to moisturize and you also use your conditioner, the cuticles are open to suck in all that moisture, drink it all up. And then when you then finish, you want to rinse your hair with cool water to close your cuticles and lock in all that moisture, okay? The main reason why your hair can also break with it being low porosity is because it cannot get the moisture, so then that's how it ends up breaking. But if you open the cuticles, moisturize it, and then close it, then your hair will stay moisturized for a little bit longer. When you deep condition with heat, that will help to open up your cuticles and really get in all that moisture. And then obviously once you finish, rinse with cool water or cold water to close that back up. There's no point in doing all of that and then you're leaving it and then it's just gonna, okay, you want to make sure that you seal in all of that moisture. Decrease your protein treatments. You don't want to do your protein treatments so often. Protein treatments are to strengthen the hair. I wouldn't even recommend using stuff like coconut oil because it's just too strong and it's gonna make your hair dry and brittle, and that's what people complain about all the time. I would definitely decrease my protein treatments to once every month or once every 6 to 8 weeks. Next, use lighter products. So use lighter conditioners. You don't want to be using your butters and your creams. You want to use something thin, or if you do have a thick product, water it down with some water. That will also help to decrease the product buildup, and all that product is just going to sit on your hair. Pace yourself, and then once you seal everything in, seal it in with a light oil. Some of my favorite light oils are almond oil, jojoba oil, argan oil, and also grapeseed oil. They're so nice and lightweight. Personally for me, those light oils are so much more better suited to people with low porosity hair because they're so lightweight and it's not going to cause too much buildup. Let's talk about high porosity hair. You want to wash your hair with cool water. Your cuticles are already open.
At this point I started rambling on, but what I was basically trying to say is because your cuticles are open, you want to refrain from using as much heat as possible, so that's why I would recommend using cool water rather than hot water. Plus, hot water is not really supposed to be good for your hair anyways.
Deep condition, deep condition, deep condition. You need to deep condition because your hair needs all of that moisture. It needs to lap it up, lather it all up. Them dime size amounts, it's not gonna work. You need to really, really add that moisture back into, because your hair is just gonna drink it all, okay? Protein treat your hair. This will help to strengthen the hair. If you are protein sensitive, then I would go back to just doing once every month or once every 6 to 8 weeks. If you're okay, I'd say do it once or twice a month. Next thing is to layer your products. Don't just use a leave-in conditioner. Use a leave-in conditioner, then a moisturizer, then a cream and a butter. You want to use heavy, thick things. And then in regards to oils, you want to use heavier oils. You can use oils like coconut oil, castor oil, hemp seed oil, olive oil. There's no point in giving it all that moisture, all those butters, all those creams, all that water, and then you're just gonna leave it open. Seal it all up, seal it up. You've got the LOC method, which is liquid, oil and cream. Personally, I like to do the LCO method, which is liquid, cream and oil. My hair stays moisturized longer when I do it that way rather than doing LOC. That is literally it when it comes to hair porosity, low and high. 3 extra tips that I have. When it comes to coconut oil and rice water, bear in mind these things can make your hair dry and brittle. That's why people always complain about it. If you have low porosity hair, personally my advice would be to stay away from it. If it works for you, then cool, stick with it. But just from experience, just from things that I've noticed, it's better suited for people who have high porosity hair. Clarifying shampoos. If you have low porosity hair, I would highly recommend clarifying shampoos. They will help to clean and strip all the buildup. Incorporate apple cider vinegar rinses or tea bag rinses, because that will also help to take off all that buildup and really clean the strands of your hair. To my third point, sulfate-free shampoos. Personally, I've been told that
sulfates are bad, you must stay away from sulfates, you must always get a sulfate-free shampoo.
But sulfates aren't really that bad. Nah, that B was massive. Sulfates basically strip the hair of all the dirt and all the buildup. It's actually good for low porosity hair. High porosity hair, I'd recommend using a sulfate-free shampoo. There's nothing wrong with using a sulfate shampoo. I'd maybe use it if, for example, you have 4 wash days in a month. I'm going off of once a week. Like on a very deep wash day, maybe once a month. The only downside to it is that they say that it strips the hair of its natural oils. That's the whole reason why I wouldn't say to use it excessively, but I would have one for my very intense deep wash days. That was a lot of information, but I hope it doesn't go over your head, and I hope that's a lot easier for you to understand. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.